Okay, so we have gone through a lot, but now we're on our last lesson, and that is going to be about facilitating the whole remote learning process. So once you've created your entire digital learning path, what do you do with it then? How do the students get it? How do they learn from it? So we're going to be learning about how to facilitate by making it clear and engaging. So we want our learning path to be completely clear so that the structure of it allows for no questions from students. They know exactly where to start, where to stop, how to move through the path. We also want to make it engaging and fun for them. So we are going to also look through our learning path and see if there's any way that we can improve it by kind of predicting what questions might arise and then answering those questions before they do arise. So then we're going to talk about distributing the lesson. And so we can distribute them with Google Classroom, or we can distribute it without Google Classroom if your district doesn't have that. And so we'll look at how to do that by having forced copies for students and then them using shareable links. And finally, we're going to kind of discuss a little bit about how you teach, how you guide and direct your students through their learning without being face-to-face with them. So let's move and go to our learning path and kind of look at the last little bit. So I took the learning path and just went through it. I added a little bit of engagement features just by using some Bitmojis or changing the color of things. Just make it a little bit more engaging and fun. I thought through what problems might arise, and so I knew that some students may not understand how to use a snipping tool, and this requires a screenshot. So I added a little video that I found on YouTube that they can watch it if they don't know how. And so basically, let's look at the first slide. So I added the pages here that they're going to work through. I gave them a clear path of what to do first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. I gave them some directions on what to do if they're lost, how to put a comment. And then I even created these little complete stickers that they can mark over the number as they complete their work. So basically, I wanted to make this as easy as possible for the students to know what to do. The better designed your learning path is, and the more resources you have available on your learning path, the more successful your students are going to be and the better time everyone's going to have. So now that your learning path is all finished, if I had more days, they would just be down here so that the students know, okay, so now today is Tuesday and we would have the same things for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, or however long you choose to make your learning path last. I do suggest a week. A week is a good amount of time to put on one path. But now we need to talk about how you're going to distribute it to your students. So there are two main options. One is Google Classroom, and most school districts do have Google Classroom, so I'm going to show that one first. If you don't, we're going to get to how to do it without Google Classroom next. So I opened up Google Classroom, and this is just my classroom. So I'm going to click on the Classwork tab, and then I'm going to click on Create. So I'm going to create an assignment. So the title, I'm going to put this week's learning path. And then you might want to put some instructions. And then I'm going to add the learning path. So I'm going to click from Google Drive since it's saved in Google Drive. And then I'm just going to look on my drive and find the file. So, okay, so here is the file. So I'm going to click on it and then I'm going to click add. Okay, so then the most important part is instead of students viewing file, we want to change this to where it says make a copy for each student. So now when the students get this assignment and they open it, it's going to make them their own copy and save it in their Google Drive. You'll still be able to access it just fine. So the thing that I want to warn you here now is once you've shared this and once students make a copy, they don't get any edits that you make in the original. Their copy is their copy and it is from the time that they got it. So if you gave all your students a copy of it and then you realize, oh, I want to change this, I want to add something to it, they're not going to get the changes. So be aware of that before you get started. The last thing you do is click assign, and then there it is for your students to have and to get a copy and to work through and learn from. So now let's look at how you're going to do this if you don't have Google Classroom. So I'm back in my learning path file and I am going to force students to make a copy. So I'm going to click on this button that says share and I'm going to click get shareable link. Okay, so once I have that shareable link, I'm going to copy it, and then in a new tab, I'm going to paste it in the URL bar. Again, we looked at this earlier, but this is another type of file that ends with /edit, sharing, and we don't want them to be able to edit or to share it. We want them to have their own copy. So I'm going to delete all of that so it ends with /copy, and I typed the word copy right at the end. Now, whenever I get this URL, I copied it and I can email it to the students, or I can give it to them in some other way. If it's too long and they need to type it, then maybe you're using Remind app or something. You can use a link shortener like bit.ly and make a shortened version. But chances are you're going to be emailing this to your student or to their parents. So this link is just fine. You're just going to copy it here and then go into your email and paste it and send it. And when students click on it, they are going to be prompted to create their own copy. See, it says, would you like to make a copy of Remote Learning Path Symmetry? And then they're going to click make a copy and they're going to have it. So that is how you pass it out to students. You distribute all of the information and all of the learning to them. But now you also need to be able to teach, which means you need to be able to get into their copies. So the easiest way is in Google Classroom. So once you, let's go into this week's learning path, you are able to view the assignment and you're going to be able to look at your students and click into their assignments right from there. So this is a practice Google Classroom and I don't have any students, so I can't show you, but you'll be able to click into their assignment and it'll take you right into their Drive and let you look exactly everything they have been doing. Now, if you don't have Google Classroom, there's going to be one little extra step for your students. And basically, once they had their own copy, so here they're making a copy of their learning path, and then this is their copy. It's in their Drive and it's saved. You don't have access into their Drive if you don't have Google Classroom. So instead, what students need to do is share it with you. So they're going to have to click this share button. Okay, and then it says share with others. The only thing they have to do is type the email address into your email address right here into this people and then click send. Okay, so that's it. Now the student has shared it with you and you have access into their file, and all you have to do is go into their file and look at it. So in fact, in your Drive, you have a button that says shared with me, and it will be right here once the students share it with you, and you can open it up and check it out and look at it. So that is basically how you're going to facilitate this type of teaching. You're going to give it to them, they're going to give it back to you, and then the two of you are going to work inside of the same Google Slides file, and they're going to solve problems, paste their answers, you're going to pose questions, read their answers, and that Google Slides learning path is how that you are going to open the lines of learning and the lines of communication so that you can guide and direct and teach them remotely. Okay, so that is it for the how-tos on creating your own remote learning path that your students can use to learn and you can use to facilitate that learning. So we're done, except for there is one more part, and it's the last part where I'm going to share some tips and tricks for getting all of this done. So stay tuned for the last video.